Joining us now is Chieftain Atigari with stories trending around the world. Hello, Chieftain.
Hello, Doctor. It's good to see you. It's good to see you, Aya. Welcome back. You look well rested. And Rufai, you owe me lunch. You already know. You already know. Just collect it. Collect it so we can start what's trending.
Great way, you owe me lunch.
Let's begin what's trending. We have so many very good stories for you today, starting off with a Nigerian journalist and publisher, Dele Momodu, who is also a PDP chieftain. He has revealed that an aspirant paid $30,000 each to the 774 delegates during the presidential primaries. He also expressed regret in spending 50 million naira on the party's nomination form and vowed not to run for president again unless chosen as a consensus candidate. Momodu shared this on the Key to Keys show over the weekend and has been trending ever since. Let's take a look.
So,
would you consider running again?
No.
Why?
Experience is the best teacher. I've come to realize that there are powers that you can describe as principalities that control Nigeria.
True.
And unless a major political party decides to adopt me, where you have a consensus of people who say, hey, Dele Momodu is best suited to change and to lead Nigeria, then I can consider it. But if I would have to pick my money to go and buy a presidential nomination form of about 100 million sometimes, the last one, I spent about 50 million buying the form. Yeah, 50 million would have bought me a property, you know, and it was a waste. Nobody vote, not even one vote, because everything was monetized. There was one of the candidates who paid as high as $30,000 per delegate, and we had 774 delegates. Yeah. So how do you want to compete with them?
We're having this conversation. When I saw that video, I had to bring out my calculator and multiply 30,000, just like 30,000 by 774. It is a lot of money. And he, goes on to talk about how there are certain individuals in society that move around with raw cash. He said he knows people that if they ask for $500 million now, raw cash, they'll be able to bring it out, which is interesting vis-a-vis what's going on in society. What are your thoughts?
It just shows you how some people have looted this society dry. Is it not in somebody's sewage tank that they saw over $10 million? Sewage tank. Shalanga. $10 million. When they ordered the Naira redesign, did you know how much they brought out to some people's homes? Starch Naira notes that were already going bad. Do you know how much some people spent on election and bribing people? See, I followed the sequence in the last election. One of the first big hike at the start of the year, dollar to the Naira was, I think, over 400 going to 500. After the party primaries, it surged to about 700. Do you know how much they took dollars from BDCs, the Bureau de Change, that to the extent that they were giving them fake dollars during the party primaries? And we say we have an electoral process. Nigeria's presidency has become the best president money can buy. I'm not saying they don't spend money in other parts of the world. Kamala Harris' campaign raised about $1 trillion. But you saw how people raised it. She got people in there. Nigerian politics, the man at the top tries to raise most of those monies. You don't really have that big level of donation because there's no economic consideration, as it were. So the politician is forced to steal. There was a politician that said he had over $5 billion to be able to prosecute a party primaries in this country. Yes. There are people like that. So it's about the case of the highest bidder. They will tell you money is no object. So how do you want to get good governance where you have politicians talking billions of dollars just for political gains? How do you want to get good governance? How many per people that have walked through the trajectory can afford to just waste 50 million naira like that on party primary form? And the PDP zone was even cheap. How much was the APC party primary form? 100 million. So that's why you can never get good governance. How do even these politicians emerge? Every criminal out there that was being looked for in America comes to Nigeria to do politics. That's why you see them. Political trail, bad past, drug trafficking, narcotics trafficking, all sorts of things, all sorts of individuals. And those are people that pervade our political space. Any criminal somewhere that they're looking for is best to come and do politics here in Nigeria. Politics has become where they wash money. Even INEC that put in a barrier for spending in electoral season, INEC can't even effect the barrier. Till today, we should ask INEC, where are the audited results of all the political parties, how much they spend, and how did they verify? The country was so awash with a lot of money during that last political season that they had to send the EFCC official to be looking for those that were doing vote buying. They didn't find anybody. Was it not here we sat down and we took the story of a delegate that out of guilty conscience had to now spend the money on his community, start resharing the money he got from party primaries. Because one delegate they give you $10,000 here, $40,000. So that's the decadent form. And except which, and this is minus what the people too will collect, the 30,000 naira they collect in polling units to be able to vote. So if we don't change this monetary system of our politics, you can never get good candidates. Because those that can bribe electoral officials, those that can bribe police, and those that can bribe across the value chains will be the one that will win elections, and that can bribe thugs that will steal ballot boxes. So you can now see why Nigeria is not moving forward. And I'm sorry, it's not going to change in the next election cycle. It's even going to be worse. People will do all sorts of things.
All right, now we see why the stakes are so high when it's election cycle. I did a quick calculation when we were talking about the figures. So at $30,000 per delegate, if we use the exchange rate at 1,700 naira, that's 51 million naira. Multiply that by the 774 local government areas is 39,474,000,000 million naira. And so you can imagine, and that's just for a primary, you know, a candidate, the amount of money they're spending. And that's why you can then understand why people would do anything during election, because when you invested this amount of money to run an election, then you want to win by all means, and then all means possible. And so just like Rufai had mentioned, if we don't check how monies are spent, and even where the money is gotten from in the first place, we're going to continue having challenges. I like that you used the American election as an example. But one of the clear difference, because they spend more money in America, well, in quotes, at least what we know. But the clear difference is that there's a trace and accountability of how the monies were raised. In fact, in some instances, you would actually see where some dubious characters contributed to a particular campaign, and it raises a lot of dust. But here, one person who has no pedigree, you don't know what he's been doing for the last few years of his life, comes up with 39 billion naira and no one is asking questions. EFCC is not on their case. You just make money just like that. So we don't ask critical questions. And unfortunately, the people have been bound in poverty such that they don't want to ask questions. They just want to see the 10,000 naira paltry sum in their hands, and then they mortgage their future for the next 4 years, and then they're lamenting if that person gets in. Because at the end of the day, it's business. We had a guest earlier on who said that there are three reasons why people go into politics. One of which is to get appointment. The other is to be rewarded. And I just thought to myself, there's nothing about service. Maybe I'm being too idealistic in terms of even putting, okay, yes, service, but also hoping that you get some form of reward. And that's why we've called for, let us reduce the monetary influence in politics in Nigeria. Perhaps we'll get a better outcome of our democracy. Let us investigate people who are able to afford being able to pay for 100 million naira for delegate nomination form, and ask where the source of their money is coming from. What have they been doing? How can they justify them having this amount of money, or even reveal the people who've donated to their campaigns? If we don't address this at this level, we're going to continue to suffer with bad leaders and also bad governance in Nigeria.
All right then, Dr.
Well,
Ruben.
thematically, I think what Bashorun Dele Momodu was talking about is the monetization of the electoral process in Nigeria, of democracy in Nigeria. In fact, that he used the word $30,000 as money that people pay to get their way through, in fact, also speaks to the dollarization of politics in Nigeria. Now, the money factor is one of the, negative factors that we have in Nigerian politics and also in democracies in parts of Africa. In fact, we may say across Africa. Now, one of the pillars of democracy is that the individual's right to choose is what is important, and it's about free choice. It's about informed choice. When people are paid to make that choice, either at the level of the primaries or at the level of the polling booth, then it's a matter of concern, as Bashorun Dele Momodu has pointed out, or Dele Momodu. He has many titles. He's a multiple chief. And he has the pedigree and the bona fide to talk about this. In 2011, he ran for the presidency of Nigeria. First, on the platform of the Labour Party, I think, and then there was an issue with that when they asked him to go and bring money, ironically. Then he moved to the National Conscience Party. Then in 2022, he also signaled his interest in the political process, now this time on the platform of the People's Democratic Party. So he's not talking theory, he's saying it as it is. Now, what is the matter? People should know that vote buying, whether at the level of the primaries or at the level of the political party or at the polling booth, is an offense under Section 124 of the Electoral Act as amended. But if, as Bashorun Momodu pointed out, that, okay, people were spending up to $30,000 and they will give to all 774 local governments. Do you know that the penalty in the Electoral Act for spending money for vote buying is a miserable 500,000 naira? So people who are able to spend money, $30,000, even if you catch them, then they will come and pay 500,000. And this is why, you know, those who are familiar with the subject continue to say that, look, the Electoral Act will still have to be further amended because, and some other people say, we should have Electoral Offences Commission if we want to, create a deterrence. The other leg of it that I think should be pointed out is that we've been talking about politicians. About the people themselves. Bashorun Momodu, if he was pressed for that, will tell you that even the ordinary people expect to be given money to go and vote. They will collect money to vote somebody into position for the next 4 years. In fact, if my memory does not fail me, I once attended an occasion where Bashorun Dele Momodu also pointed out that even his own colleagues, journalists, when you give them a story, they will be calling up and down. They will be asking him, how far now? How far now? Where only journalists will understand what the communique, not communicate. Journalists don't necessarily ask for communique. They also ask for communique. But he being one of them, I think he himself must have been shocked. But the one we should be worried about is about how the people themselves sell their votes. Because the people who are collecting this money that the politicians bring, they are Nigerians. They are the peoples that will be affected. And that is why one of the major tasks, continuous tasks, will be voter education. To tell Nigerians that whether you are a party agent or party member or you are a man with a voter's card, once you sell your vote, you are mortgaging your future and the future of your children.
Yes.
I have practical experience, but today is probably not the day for me to talk about my own practical experience. Let's just stay with what Dele Momodu has told us.
All right, then, very fantastic contributions. Well, let's move on to another story. Ebonyi State Governor Francis Nwifuru has ordered the arrest of 6 civil servants for allegedly attempting to remove documents from the state's Ministry of Health without authorization. In a video posted on his Facebook page over the weekend, the governor is seen confronting individuals loading a vehicle with documents suspected to be records of the Ministry of Health. The suspects, identified as ministry staff and alleged buyers, are now under investigation. Let's take some tweets. Let's watch the video, come back and take some tweets.
In our own primary health care, and you have the opportunity to be a civil servant. And all these things are in their own custody and they are selling it. Today that is Saturday, you call somebody, a buyer, to come and start loading it. Now this is immunization register. Child immunization register. Please do not falsify any data. And they're selling it. And the general public are shouting every day. Our health facilities are getting total moribund. It's totally dilapidated. We need health facilities. We need health facilities. We need equipment in our health facilities. Then look at what the people are doing to government.
All right, then let's take some tweets and see how Nigerians are reacting. The first tweet there reads, "That's why I think Nigeria's problems don't stop at the government. We must acknowledge that we are responsible for much of it ourselves. And that's the most frustrating part. Just take a look at this. Many things like this are happening all over the country. And if we truly want this country to improve, every single person at every level of society would need to be held accountable for indulging in such practices. No one should be spared or left behind." The next tweet there reads, "And after everything, these are the types of people that will say to camera that there's shortage of equipment in the hospital. I blame Nigerians for where we are today. This has happened happened in most government hospitals. They usually divert materials." And finally, "Poverty of the mind is the greatest infection. Misusing public resources is a serious breach of trust, as it's absolutely critical that those guilty of diverting materials meant for primary health care facilities face appropriate legal consequences. The health and well-being of our community depends on the integrity and proper use of these resources. Let this serve as a strong reminder that such actions will not be tolerated, and all necessary precautions and legal actions must be taken against those involved." I picked those three tweets because they really do truly summarize how I feel about this particular story. And you could just tell, you could see the governor there, very frustrated, just upset that this was happening under his nose for a long time. Let's start with you, Ayo.
All right, okay, so thank you very much. This just buttresses the last point that Dr. Bati made. That, yes, we can point our fingers at politicians and leaders when it comes to the state of the country, but truly every single person, like the first tweet says, is responsible for the way or where Nigeria is currently. And, you know, we see this happen a lot of times. This is just one of the pictures or videos of where we see civil servants behaving badly, whether they're diverting funds, selling what should be given to for free to citizens, or using what's meant for the commonwealth of the good of the people for personal gains. You know, we see these matters daily. Just on Monday, the head of service of the Federation revealed that there were a number of Nigerian civil servants who are jackpot, that's relocated abroad, and were still receiving salaries back home. And an investigation is ongoing. These are the kinds of stories that we hear, that we know that this corruption thing is pervasive in Nigeria. It has eaten deep into the fabric of society, whereby it's become a way of life. We don't see anything wrong in it. We just see it as being smart, or we being able to just make ends meet. But there's nothing smart about that. What you're doing is that we keep on defrauding other people, and we keep on plunging the country into further decline and further decay. And so one of the things I'd like to say in terms of solution, we need a reorientation. We need a resetting, as it were, of our mindset as Nigerians, how we see things, how we perceive things. And it should start from, from the young students, perhaps even introduce it into the curriculum in terms of what it means to be a patriotic citizen, and what it means to be able to be given responsibility and not diverted for personal use. Yeah. If you meet one in almost 3 Nigerians is trying to find a way to, and to them, like I said, it's just being smart and trying to make ends meet. Beyond that is even the fabric of our family, our homes. You see your child come home with something that is beyond what you know they're earning, and there are no questions asked. In fact, they praise them, "Oh, my son bought me a car." They're right from the family structure. We need to deal with that. I'm saying this because this is just a symptom of what is. It is horrible. Yes, it is so bad, and it is. All of us need to take responsibility for what's happening. Beyond that, I'll just end by saying that when it comes to accountability, we all should be able to speak up when we see things that are out of place. And then the governor himself, I'm glad that he's come out and and I hope the people will face the consequence. But why don't we have digital, technology? Technology can help to cut down corruption like this. If everything is digitized, it's easier to trace when things go amiss. So these are also the kind of conversations we should be having as a country.
All right, Doctor, do you want to comment briefly before we go to our next story?
Okay, very briefly. I think, what we're dealing with here is corruption. The same corruption, big subject that we're talking about. And one of the tragedies that has occurred in this country is that the civil service in Nigeria is corrupt. There is no difference between Nigerian civil servants and the policemen that you find at the checkpoints. They have created so many checkpoints within the system. Why would anybody be stealing civil service records and turning them into personal documents? It's simply because they want to use it to do quick business, to make money at the expense of government. Elsewhere, in other countries, whether from Bangladesh to Germany to the UK, the civil service is considered the engine room of government. And that's why in those countries, only the best and the brightest are recruited to work within the civil service, because they cannot afford to have a government that is, behaving like an engine of a car that is beginning to make a knocking sound, as they call it. But in Nigeria here, since the golden years of the super palm sex, when Nigeria followed the rules, the Nigerian civil service has collapsed, despite the civil service reforms. Now, to quickly summarize, I think what the governor should do is, well, two things. It's good that he's a hands-on governor and that he went and checked and he discovered this himself. As Ayo suggested, yes, these persons should be sanctioned. Systems should be put in place to ensure that this does not happen again. And that's why in 2024, they are still carrying files up and down. If you go to any government office, they will say your file has disappeared. Government is supposed to be a custodian of records. They should behave like a Nigerian government that is operating in the 21st century. But we have 18th century standards.
All right.
Till this moment, in many states of Nigeria, and beyond that, the governor can initiate civil service reforms.
Yes.
Civil service reforms is not an exclusive function of the federal government.
Definitely.
It's concurrent. States too can upgrade the civil service in their states to knock out all kinds of persons who use government work as police checkpoints.
Yes, thank you so much, Doctor. Let's move on to our next story. And Rufai, you'll be starting off with the comments. Former Minister of Women Affairs, Uju Kennedy-Ohanenye, who is among 5 ministers relieved of duty following the 19th Federal Executive Council meeting a few weeks ago, is showing her commitment to fighting for a better society. In a video shared on her social media platform X, she said, "My passion for justice remains unwavering, and I will not tolerate any form of abuse, especially against vulnerable Nigerians, including children. Today, I represented a heart-wrenching case involving a 5-year-old girl who was sexually abused by her class teacher, and this incident strengthens my resolve to combat such heinous crimes. To those who would dare to perpetrate such atrocities, let this serve as a warning. I will pursue justice relentlessly in my capacity." Signed, Barrister Uju Kennedy-Ohanenye. Let's take a quick look.
Kennedy-Ohanenye, the former Honorable Minister of Women Affairs. My name is Barrister Mrs. Uju Kennedy-Ohanenye, the former Honorable Minister of Women Affairs. Today I'm in court to give a support to my 4-year-old child who has been defiled and sodomized by the teacher. So I decided to come to court. She's been calling me, "Mommy, will you come? Will you come and support me?" So I'm here today to introduce myself to the court and see if they will allow me to act as a friend of the court, so that I'll be able to support this child and follow up on the matter. I don't want that there's no way I could have abandoned these children that I started the case while I was a minister because of any reason. I will not abandon them. I will follow up on all the cases I started until it gets to the end.
Well, fantastic. Even though she's no longer the minister, she's letting Nigerian people know that her commitment is unwavering. I love it. Rufai.
Okay, so prior to this time, Barrister Uju Kennedy-Ohanenye used to do a lot of charity. And it's not today she's been fighting for things. I particularly remember she used to have a show on the sister TV station, I think every Sunday. And I do watch her show about how she reaches out and everything. And it's good, when you're fighting for the downtrodden in society. But this was also the barrister that we knew the role she played with that lecturer's case.
That was quite sad.
And the call she made, and the student lecturer thing and the call she made and all of that. So, but we don't want to go into that. But it's good she's serving. But a topic that really caught me was this Ebonyi case. And I'm going to take a very different turn. I'm not going to praise the governor. In fact, it's an indictment on the governor himself. In 21st century, how many parastatals would the governor cover to start unearthing things like this? And we are celebrating that he's working. It's an indictment that he doesn't have systems that work. How many departments do you see leaders go to? So what he should have done was to set the systems in place. You see, we in Africa, we're used to one-man mentality, powerful man. He has gone there, oh, I found a man myself. Can you imagine and everything? But no system reforms happened afterwards. All of those files recover. Like I said rightly, where's digitization? A simple blockchain solution can solve all of this system problem web in such a way that you get all the system to blockchain. You can even put an AI component on it. Guess what? You can get all this data in this system in such a way that you can also mine data from it, also market the data you mine from it. There's so many things that can be done with data. But it shows that you have a failure of system and you're going to fish out. So what about the corruption in other departments that is going on that he will not be able to see? Governor Nwifuru has only got 2 eyes, but technology has got 100 eyes. So what he should do is have a technological system that coordinates every government parastatal and government data.
Yeah.
Set up a strong control room within that you can see all the analyzed data sets of everything that's happening in every ministry. Make it in such a way that as they make any document, even if it's a signed document and everything, there's a little scanning system that they scan that document and double up. In fact, even in worst case scenarios, you can have phone scanners. That might not be certainly perfect, but there must be a replica copy of all these documents. And put them in this central server base. And put it on a cloud platform. Put an AI component of it that can analyze the data and that can help you categorize and sort your data. So for every department, data from 1991 to 1995, AI sorts it out from you on the education department. Ebonyi was created, what's it called, 96, part of the last state creation. From every data set in that place. And all of that. So you can have your data. It's going to help you when you are doing projection. It's going to help you when you are speaking to foreign partners. It's going to help you when you are executing your budget and all of that. So that's how we should do data in this country. So it's not a thing we are celebrating at all.
On a lighter note, when you're saying they should transmit the election, just remember that this is Nigeria, anything can happen. Didn't they try that with elections where they were transmitting?
You see, the question you have not answered, Ayo, is that even INEC, I'm asking them today, why is it that it was only the presidential election transmission didn't go through? If you have a transmission through technology...
No, you have cases where what you have online is different from what you have...
They will show you the back end.
True.
INEC should show us the back end analysis. I dare them to show us. Why is there was only presidential election? Not the other elections that they
Okay, people,
Senate and all of that.
let's really back in.
Ready.
Before we go, just a word with regard to Barrister Uju Kennedy-Ohanenye, who was a regular subject on this show, who was trending, is to say this, that I think it's gratifying to see that after leaving office as Minister of Women Affairs, that she has a second address. Look, there are too many people who take public appointment in this country who end up behaving like invalids. Their careers will just end. But there are also persons who prove, that, look, government appointment is not a life and time, life and death opportunity. When government appointment ends, you must have a second address. Go back to your job. And it's very common with lawyers, medical doctors, professionals, that when government work ends, even academics, they just go back to what they've been doing before. But there are some people who just stay permanently in Abuja, going from ministry to ministry, trying to contribute to the same rot that we've been talking about since you started this segment. So it's good to see Barrister Uju Kennedy-Ohanenye appearing in court as amicus curiae, and defending issues that she's passionate about.
Yes, I love that. But before we end what's trending, let's spread some love and happiness, shall we? Yeah. Former Vice President Yosibajos celebrated a major milestone with his wife, Dolapo, talking about 35 years of a marriage. Yosibajos took to social media to shower his wife with praise, calling her the proof that true love is real. And we can't help but agree. 35 years of love, laughter, and adventure together is definitely something to celebrate. celebrate. Here's to many more years of happiness for the Yosibajos. I'm reading this back and I'm getting goosebumps. I was looking at those pictures yesterday, and you know what? I think I'm ready to settle down. Rufai, look at the way you jumped up.
You are still
thinking.
You are thinking.
It's tough
or you are
out
planning.
here, doctor, but it's tough out here.
Then we've had the Arise babies. Yeah, we want more Arise News babies. Please give us babies. Grandfathers of Arise.
Well,
give us babies. Don't think. Planning.
Working on it.
You have no right to contribute to this conversation. Because we should be
We're both in the same WhatsApp. What are you talking about?
What is planning?
Very quickly.
Okay, no, if Rufai says he's thinking, okay, I can understand. But we should be planning.
Love is sweet.
Please, can I have your thoughts on this story? 30 seconds each before we wrap up what's trending today.
Okay, let me start because I love love. And congratulations to the Yosibajos. 35 years is not a joke. That's like light years into this world. Even 5 years, they're celebrating like it's a big deal. So, and they've been quite consistent with their love story. When he was before he came into office, and that's one of the politicians, Dr. Batu, that you talked about, that they're able to go back to a career, because
he's a law professor.
He's a law professor. He's an academic. He's a lawyer. So just qualifies in that way. But she has been a solid support. But a quiet force, but very solid, and they've been able to celebrate themselves on significant occasions like birthdays and and anniversaries like this. So it's great to see love stories like this in a world that's awash with things that are not going right with marriage. So congratulations, Professor Yemi Yosibajos, and of course the delectable Mrs. Dolapo Yosibajos.
Doctor?
Auntie Dolly.
Doctor?
Auntie Vito Show.
Well, I mean, congratulations. There's also a limit to I can make comments, the kind of comments I would have loved to say.
Please, Dr. Batu,
Professor Yemi Yosibajos having been my teacher at Lagos State University, but I think it's not out of place to say. It's good to see him, the lover boy part of it. And I think
a lover boy.
From one lover boy to another.
And to thank his wife for the support that he has given him through all the years and all the challenges that may have come his way.
Rufai, talk now. I mean, you wanted to say something since 30 seconds. We're about to end what's trending. Yes.
You are asking the Pope to comment on the marriage.
You don't make me fall in love.
I think Rufai is getting inspired. We're going to get a wedding announcement soon.
I'm just dancing for
I
love.
can see that.
Love is everything.
Yes.
Love is life. It's the essence of our
says
being.
the Holy Book.
We are on earth because of love. The Bible says, for God so loved the world that he gave us his son that gave us the life we have today. Everything in this world is love. People that don't have love have a miserable life. They hurt others. They don't appreciate the heart of others. They talk down on others. I pray for this country. Like Onyeka Win of Blessed Memory said, may one love keep us together.
I think
that's my prayer.
Perfect way to end it. That's all I have for you on What's Trending today.